Welcome to Spartanburg, South Carolina, the home of the BMW plant in the US. The reason why I'm here today is to test the all-new BMW X3 M50. In this video, I'm going to talk about the specs of the car, the driving experience, and then of course we're going to touch on the exterior and interior design. It's fair to say that probably the X3 M50 will be the best-selling variant in the US, mostly because it comes at a better price point than the X3 M50. Of course, the driving experience will be completely different in this car compared to the X3 M50, which is considered the top model of the X3 lineup, especially now that BMW has no plans to make another X3M. The major difference between the two cars really comes from the drivetrain. This one is powered by a 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, namely the B48 that we know from many other BMW cars and Minis as well. It makes 255 horsepower and 295 pounds-feet of torque, still enough to take this car from 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds. Of course, it's an xDrive, so the power is sent to all four wheels via an 8-speed automatic transmission. If the X3 M50 was all about this crossover having a dual character, meaning you can use it as a daily driver, as a family car, and at times as a fun canyon carver. But with the X3 M50, things are a little bit different because, of course, the cars are quite similar when it comes to the weight and they're identical when it comes to the size. So this engine might feel slightly underpowered if you want to go have some fun on some of these nice and curvy back roads. Now, let's talk about the driving experience, because in the end, it's still a BMW and it has to drive quite good. Of course, it doesn't have the driving dynamics of the X3 M50. It doesn't even have the same suspension. This one rides on the M Sport suspension versus the M Adaptive Sport suspension that I had in that car. So of course, the ride quality will be a little bit different. Just like that car, it does come with a wide range of driving modes, going from comfort all the way to Sport Plus. And once again, just like that car, the gap is wider than ever before. I've been talking about this in almost every single BMW video review in the last couple of years, because this has been the philosophy of BMW when it comes to driving modes, to expand, to extend, or to make that gap between the driving modes even larger than before. Why, you might be asking? Well, for one reason. Based on feedback from customers, they want to have a car that can be a perfect daily driver, like right now, and very comfortable, very serene how it drives. But of course, if you're the type of customer that wants to have a more dynamic drive or maybe a stiffer car, you can still go to the My Modes right there, click on Sport, and you can further customize the settings, the drivetrain, of course, from Comfort to Sport Plus, the driving dynamics, and then of course the steering. What you cannot do in this particular car, it's customize the suspension, because this X3 M50 comes from the M Sport suspension. The M50 that I drove just a few months ago, it was actually spec'd with the Adaptive Sport suspension, and I believe that's unique to that particular model. So are they different? Of course. Even driving on some of these roads, which are fairly okay, even though you do have a few potholes, you do feel that M Sport suspension working differently than the adaptive one. It is a lot stiffer, something that you might have experienced also in other BMWs as well. I remember driving a 3 Series without M Sport suspension and thinking that it's a little bit too harsh for daily driving. So if in the M50 I prioritize maybe the Sport and Sport Plus mode over the Comfort, maybe when it comes to the X30, I will probably be driving more in the Comfort mode. So with that being said, let's switch into the Comfort mode and see what's the difference right there. So now everything is a little bit dialed down. I can even feel the steering, being quite numb right now versus the more direct feedback that I'm getting in Sport mode. But then again, this is probably my preferred mode if I was to daily drive this car, and especially if I was to travel with other people in the car. Let's push the car a little bit. Let's see how it does. Some really nice roads here. You can see quite composed. Not much body roll, of course, a little bit more than the X3 M50 because it doesn't have all the chassis tricks that car does. But if you want to have fun with this car, you can. When it comes to the engine, one of the main questions that I always have is whether the B48 it's powerful enough to move a car of this size. And of course, I struggle quite a bit with the X1 M35, for example, with the same engine, making a little bit less power. But in this case, just floor the pedal, and after a short turbo lag, the car simply takes off. So it doesn't feel underpowered at all. I mean, nearly 300 pounds-feet of torque is still good enough for simple overtaking or even going fast on some of the back roads. So for daily driving, I honestly don't think that everybody needs a 6-cylinder M50. Of course, if you can splurge and have the extra cash, I encourage you to do so, because that engine is one of my favorite engines of all time. But then again, some people are buying this X3 just to be a normal daily driver that doesn't have to excel in all the areas. For the first time, I don't think the new X3 is being criticized too much for its exterior design. Of course, it's still a little bit controversial, mostly because of its skinny grille once again. But I would say probably the harshest criticism on this car has been coming from the interior design. So let's hop outside and talk about the design of this X330. At the first glance, you will notice immediately that the kidney grille, it's different than on the X3 M50. You have these vertical slats and diagonal slats connecting, which makes for a very unique styling choice. It's not as bold as on the X3 M50. Of course, you get the same headlights, double LEDs inside. And if you look from the side, you will notice the more upright nose on the car. Of course, the overall shapes are a lot simpler than before, a lot smoother. You can see the hood as well, 2 creases running down there. And then, of course, these very solid creases on the side that connect to the top of the kidney grille. The front bumper, naturally, it's not as aggressive as on the X3 M50 yet. It's quite clean and actually looks quite good on this car, even though it does have this kind of weird split in the middle. You can see that the car does have a more coupe-ish look than ever before. And actually, the side view is probably the best part on the car. It is quite attractive, actually. And once again, you can see here the monolithic design. Simpler shapes, smoother. Of course, you still got that line running all the way across, typical to BMW cars, extended all the way into the shoulder. No more spats here, so you got the same body color right there, which is quite nice. You might be asking why, because the width is a little bit larger than before, and it doesn't need the additional plastic to cover the tires and wheels. You do have a rocker panel on the bottom, so that's probably the most aggressive piece on the side. The wheels are always one of my favorite design parts on a BMW car, because they do a very, very good job with wheel design. If you go to the back, once again, a more upright look here. And then, of course, you have these taillights, which resemble quite a bit the ones on the X5. You can see these X motif, as they call it, and they do wrap around the shoulders quite nicely. Speaking of the shoulders, you can see the car from the back. It is quite aggressive in design. The tailpipes are hidden compared to the X3 M50, which gives the rear bumper a very, very clean look. X3 badge, also different than ever before. Larger fonts for the X3 and smaller for the model designation. Let me open the trunk as well. You can see my gear here as well. I love this backpack, by the way. Big design. And I'm filming with the DJI today. And of course, it is quite spacious. You can fit a few bags in there. If you need additional space, you can open this up and you can store some smaller things in there. Let me close this up. Let's take a look inside. Flat bottom steering wheel. I love it because it's functional. Getting in and out of the car, it's a little bit easier when you have that flat bottom. Seats, plenty of side bolster support. You have the new curve display in the car. iDrive 9. You have this new toggle shifter instead of the traditional gear shifter. Luckily, we're still getting the iDrive controller. That's great. You have this box right here, which they call it the jewelry box. It's quite functional, actually, because you can fit a lot more things in there. This is the platch that I was talking about. You can see right there, high impact area. Not ideal. I wish this was a lot more premium. Then, of course, this island on the door, which functions as memory seats right there. Of course, you have this interaction bar in the door, which unfortunately does not extend into the rear. I'm going to show you right here. You can see you have this plastic piece right there. And once again, you can see the plastic pieces right there as well. And then, of course, in the center console, and my favorite one, piano black, which looks cool when new. Does scratch easily, and you can see a lot of the fingerprints, but hey, everybody uses this. And of course, the panoramic roof, which unfortunately does not open either. Plenty of space. You can easily travel with 2 adults in the back and 1 child in the middle. So that was a quick overview. Now let's go behind the wheel and continue our drive. The new BMW X3 also comes with level 2 driving assistant features. For example, at lower speeds up to 40 miles per hour, the traffic jam assistant can provide unlimited hands-free on the highway. Of course, a lot of people care about the efficiency of the car. So the EPA-rated X330 comes in at 27 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway. That brings it to a combined 29 mpg. That's an improvement of 5 mpg over the previous model. The new BMW X3 is 1.3 inches longer than its predecessor, and it measures 187 inches overall. The width has been increased by 1.5 inches to 75.6 inches. There is also a drop of 1 inch in the vehicle height, which brings it down to 65.4 inches. Let's see how the car takes off. I mean, it's not supposed to be super fast, but here we go. Slight turbo lag, torque kicks in, and now it's actually quite fun. Of course, it's not gonna have the same driving behavior as the X3 M50, and don't expect it to, because once again, this is really just a very, very good daily driver. So of course you might be wondering by now, which one should I buy? And that's an absolutely fair question, because if money no object, the X3 M50 will be the better car. It sounds better, it drives better, it's got a great engine, and it's a lot more engaging and a lot more fun in many ways. But of course, if you're looking to get the best bang for your buck, then that's where the X330 comes in. It is still a very, very good X3, despite having this questionable interior design. But if you're taking this car as a daily driver, I promise you it won't disappoint. It's still got that X3 DNA, the X3 character that sits right below the X5, doesn't step on the toes of the X5. And this is why this car is quite popular. This is why you see a lot of cars on the road, because it truly is a good daily driver, even when riding on the M Sport suspension, which might not be the most comfortable in the world. So with that being said, if you're on the fence between the two, I would say go to the dealership, try both cars. If money no object, don't even worry about it. Just get the X3 M50. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Here we go. Doesn't sound as great as B58, but hey, at least it's not electric.